Good evening, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be back and help us gear up to the launch of our brand new show, Stateside. The Late Show Live. Never been a better time to launch it, so I can't wait to get going with all of that. But before that, a bit closer to home, Sir Keir Starmer's decision to reward Palestinian terrorists could cost Britain £2 trillion. So yesterday, the Prime Minister announced this.
So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the State of Palestine. We recognised the State of Israel more than 75 years ago as a homeland for the Jewish people. Today, we join over 150 countries who recognise a Palestinian state also.
It's just utterly painful to suffer through that clip, isn't it? But today, it's reported that Palestine might now seek £2 trillion in reparations, because it's possible the new country would ask for compensation for land, quotes, taken from the Palestinian people when Britain relinquished control of the region after the Second World War. A senior Hamas official declared that Sir Keir Starmer's decision was a victory. And that's the same terrorist group that only a few months ago executed people in the street while loads of entirely innocent people watched and filmed it on their mobile phones. Sir Keir Starmer decided not to impose any conditions on Palestine having to return the hostages, and David Lammy even admitted yesterday that it will not bring us any closer to a ceasefire. And get this, David Lammy, he's banged on about colonialism relentlessly throughout his political career. Some would argue he's made a career out of doing it. And now Labour's position is to officially recognise a state, then tell that state that they have to get rid of their government and appoint the one we approve of. Is there a name for that kind of behaviour?
If you recognise a Palestinian state and Gaza is part of that Palestinian state and Hamas is still in control of Gaza, how does this work? You want to recognise an independent state, but you're telling that independent state who its leaders should be. I think we used to call that a colony.
No. One, let us not confuse the Palestinian people with Hamas.
No,
two, let us recognise...
The question is, who's in government? Are you saying that you will not recognise the Palestinian state if Hamas is part of government? Or are you saying it doesn't matter who's in government and you will recognise them come what may?
Trevor, your viewers know that we are some significant distance from two states.
Oh, my gosh. Remember the Gazan students that we were letting come to Britain to study and how, now they won't be able to bring their families with them? Well, yeah, now it looks like Labour might consider letting them bring their partners and children with them as well. Brilliant. Labour have no idea what they're doing. Here's little Hamish Faulkner, a Foreign Office minister, believe it or not, basically admitting that the whole thing is a load of guff.
How? Just how does the UK recognising a Palestinian state really move things on today towards a two-state solution?
Recognition will not, as you say, mean that humanitarian aid comes in tomorrow. It will not mean that hostages are released tomorrow, but it does set out an important framework for bringing this conflict to an end.
What? I mean, he was on GBNews this morning saying that he didn't know if there would be a Palestinian embassy and a Palestinian ambassador in London, which is really odd because just a couple of hours later, he was here. Yeah, hang on, wait for him. There he is. Look at that, just on left there. Standing gormlessly next to the bloke opening a Palestinian embassy in Britain. It's remarkable, isn't it? For something he didn't... apparently he didn't know that place existed 2 hours before he was there. Anyway, nearly 90% of people disagree with Labour's decision to reward terrorists and recognise a Palestinian state. And we all know that Sir Keir Starmer loves a bit of international law. We had to surrender the Chagos Islands because of international law. We can't stop the migrant crisis because of international law. Yet, well, some lawyers have now speculated that recognising a Palestinian state is against international law because it doesn't have clearly defined borders for a start. But, he's all right to ignore international law there, isn't he? Why, though? Why do we think Labour's done it? Any guesses? Anyone at the back? Does anyone? Any ideas? Oh, yeah, we all know why, don't we?
Raise the voice of Palestine! Allahu Akbar! Listen, free Palestine! Free Palestine!
We're not here to beg for crumbs off the table. We're taking the f***ing lot.
Oh, yes. Sir Keir Starmer, a man regarded by many as the worst Prime Minister in British history, has rewarded an Islamist terror group because he wants to try to keep the hard left and the Muslim community happy. I mean, that's my view anyway. So to recap, Labour's decision to recognise a Palestinian state could cost us £2 trillion, not bring a single hostage home, not lead to a ceasefire, might break international law and was celebrated by an Islamist terror group. Well done, lads. A triumph.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind. The more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Let's get the views of my panel. Daily Express columnist Carol Malone is with us. We've also, as well, got Benjamin Butterworth, the journalist, and James Price as well, former Tory advisor. Carol, I'll start with you on this. Reparations for Palestine. Carol, are you paying up?
Absolutely not, no. The rumours are it could be as much as £2 trillion. You know, it is astonishing. The stupidity of this government knows no bounds. They didn't think of this, Same thing happened with Chagos Islands is happening here. Starmer, what he's done in the last 2 days, he's a dangerous, delusional, appeasing fool. And Trump and Netanyahu begged him not to do this. They said it would hinder the peace process. The families of the hostages yesterday begged him not to go ahead with this decision until, and their words were, our loved ones are back home in our arms. And he just ignored that. He took that out because he doesn't give a stuff about the hostages. He doesn't give a stuff about peace. What he cares about is his own ministers and his own government who are pressurising him, and he's trying to save his own sorry backside by doing this. It is beyond astonishing. He has rewarded Hamas for its savagery and its butchery, and these people, they raped and murdered young women on the streets of Israel. They killed babies. He's rewarded that. He's rewarding savages.
The next step, just to knock this on a bit, focusing on those reparations. I mean, conceivably, according to Keir Starmer, who appears to be ignoring international law when it comes to the recognition of a Palestinian state, all it would take is one judge, international judge, to say we owe the Palestinians £2 trillion, and presumably we'd have to pay them, would we?
Well, this is the terrifying thing. The 2 trillion quid, it's got quite a lot of money, right? Yeah. And even if it ends up being a small part of that, as Donald Trump would tell you from any kind of negotiations, you start with 2 trillion, even if you get knocked down halfway, that's still about the amount of money that you bring in every single year from the whole country, right? And if it happens with Palestine, it's going to happen with lots of other countries. They're going to keep arguing for it, keep pushing for it. As you just said very rightly, David Lammy has expressed a lot of solidarity with, say, Caribbean countries, asking for reparations as well. Britain's a poor country right now, right? We owe a huge amount of money, we're a huge amount of money in debt, we're spending more than we're bringing in, there's no growth. Even if you wanted to do this, and it would be a deeply wicked and immoral and wrong thing to do, there isn't any money to do it. So maybe we just get to a complete economic collapse sooner as a result of this, and we can start all over again.
But it's also flagrant, blatant colonialism in action. I mean, it's all right when the left do it, Benjamin, isn't it? But, of course, if anyone on the right wanted to do it, when we didn't like the regimes in Iraq, that was one thing. But, I mean, this is, right, we're going to recognise a state, but you need to get rid of the government of that state and then choose one that we approve of. I mean, it's everything Keir Starmer claims to hate, isn't it?
I mean, look, it's a very unfashionable view, but I'm not against Britain getting involved to tackle evil regimes around the world. But the problem with this is that we're getting involved to back an evil regime, not remove it. The question of reparations, of course, we shouldn't give £2 trillion or dollars or anything to these people. But we've already given, as an international community, as the West, billions, and it is lounging in Qatar in expensive penthouses for the leaders of Hamas, not for the people in Gaza. And I don't doubt that life is hellish in Gaza. I also think it was hellish before October 7th because they're run by fascists. Oh. And the truth is that this will do nothing for those Gazans. It will do nothing for the hostages or Israelis. It is a bauble for barbarism, and it would encourage them to carry on.
Also, I mean, just taking it practically, Carol, why did Keir Starmer do it? He's done it to try to appease the aspects of the Islamic community and aspects of the hard left. They hate Keir. They're not coming back.
But what he doesn't realise, his job's finished out. It's not going to save his job. But, he said that Hamas would be excluded from the Palestine Authority, the new government. How can he make that happen? How can he guarantee that will happen? Who's going to exclude them? Who's going to keep them out? Nobody. He has recognised a corrupt country with no borders that hasn't had elections in 20 years. And why has he done that? He's done it to make himself look like the international statesman he believes he is, in order to save his job. And in doing so, he has endangered the peace process. That's not me saying that. That's America, and that's Netanyahu saying.
Well, James, one of the criticisms that some people said unfairly, by the way, but was levelled at Sir Keir Starmer and indeed our now Attorney General Lord Hermer, was that in the past they'd, quote, been on the side of terrorists, whether it was being willing to represent, in the case of Keir Starmer, his butt to rear, in the case of our Attorney General, the bloke who masterminded 9/11, and some people with some pretty close ties to the IRA. Whereas now you see him really, essentially, rewarding another terrorist organisation. Is he on the side of terrorists? What's going on?
Well, if he was, he wouldn't look any different from right now, right? He would deny it, I'm sure, but it wouldn't look any different from the way that he's been behaving. And this time, neither Starmer nor Lord Hermer, or Hermer, as he technically, I suppose, is still, can hide behind what they call the cab rank rule, this idea that lawyers will have to take a person no matter what their alleged crime is, which is right, because people in the criminal justice system should be given representation. But here Starmer has chosen to go and do this, and he knows full well, because his ministers have all had to admit it, this isn't going to help in any way. And as you say, it's pure, naked politics. And some people will say, oh no, because other countries are doing it too. These other countries have got the same kind of demographic problems. And I just want to highlight one person, Mohsin Ali, the deputy leader of the Green Party, who you saw there. There's someone who so bullied a rabbi, the Leeds University rabbi, and said that he was going back to Israel to kill babies, that man and his family had to go into hiding. Okay. This Mohsin Ali is now the deputy leader of the Green Party.
All right, just on that quickly, I will say, I don't necessarily doubt you. I wasn't aware of that. Mohsin Ali, of course, is not here to defend himself, and we don't have time to go for comments. So there we go. Just very quickly, very finally as well, sorry, because I know we've got to go, but Benjamin, is there any sense to what Sir Keir Starmer's doing here at all? Is there any sense, or is he just lurching from one meaningless, guffy statement? I mean, did he even read that speech? He didn't read the Island of Strangers speech. What public servant has put that in front of him?
Well, generations of Labour and left-wing politicians have wanted wanted to do this. So, I think he'll think this is his place in history on the left, and it probably is. But the argument was that, Netanyahu is not a particularly considerate person to the international community. There are illegal settlements in the West Bank that have been condemned by the UK and the US. So maybe if you do this, it will get Israel to change its attitude to that. Well, what has Netanyahu said today? He said they're going to have more settlements in the West Bank.
We should also point out he's betrayed every Jew in this country. Do you remember how he was sucking up to the Jews when he wanted leadership of the party, begging them he was going to change the party?
Jewish,
and it's rampant anti-Semitism. And this is what he's done. He's betrayed them, and they will never forgive him for this.
And indeed, Shana Tova, it's a Jewish New Year.
Jewish New Year for that. They had the call to come out and celebrate, didn't they? Right, OK. So apparently Mothi Ali did apologise at the time for some of those comments. So there we go. Right. The Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has been on. She said this: "We are clear that Hamas can have no role in Palestine's future. They are a barbaric terrorist organisation who oppose the very idea of two states. They must release the hostages and relinquish any hold on Gaza. But Hamas are not the Palestinian people. Recognition is only one part of what must be a stronger and wider push for peace. We need to end the conflict in Gaza, secure the release of all hostages and get humanitarian aid to all those who desperately need it. That requires not just an immediate ceasefire, but a plan for a durable peace, which will be a key to my diplomatic drive with the UN this week." Would be fascinating to see who the people of Palestine would elect at a free and fair election, Miss Cooper, wouldn't it?